Reggie Bush, do you remember him? He's getting his Heisman Trophy back. And everywhere I look, it is getting glowing praise, some kind of righteous moment in the world of football. And finally, this organization has recognized how unjust and outdated this organization is. And, of course, this man should get his Heisman Trophy back. And all the other Heisman winners act like he's Gandhi or something. And this whole thing has been righted. And now there's harmony in the world and kumbaya. And I think the whole thing is freaking ridiculous. Not only is there about to be a formal announcement, he's bragging about this, and it is absolutely asinine. There's no logic applied. And I think I'm in the minority in saying that, but I think I'll make a very compelling argument. If you're going to go here, then there's other places I'm going to suggest that you need to go. So here's the story. Yahoo Sports reports now. It says Reggie Bush reportedly getting 2005 Heisman Trophy back in formal reinstatement. Personally, he says, I'm thrilled to reunite with my fellow Heisman winners and be a part of the storied legacy of the Heisman Trophy. And I'm honored to return to the Heisman family. I also look forward to working together with the Heisman Trust to advance the values and mission of the organization. Listen, I hate to be prude. What values? I'm sorry. I miss the values in the Heisman Trophy since the guy who cheated, knowingly broke the rules, gets his trophy back. What are those values again? What are the values of the Heisman Trophy? Okay, so he wins it in 2005. And in a close vote at the time over Vince Young, had the vote been taken after the national championship game, USC v. Texas, in one of the greatest games ever played, not just because Texas won, it was just a great, compelling game, but had the vote been taken for the Heisman Trophy after that game, Vince Young would have won the Heisman Trophy. We wouldn't be having this conversation today unless, of course, Vince Young cheated. That I know of, he didn't get busted. So what we know is one guy got busted in a big way. So Reggie Bush's family, here's the history of this. I always tell people about the Heisman Trophy. It's not accurate nor the right thing to do or say to claim that it's the best player in college football. That's never been true. That's impossible. It's the most celebrated player on typically the most celebrated team. It's a popularity contest. Yes, they're great players, no doubt. They define the sport for that season. But there's no way you can sit there and vote on the best player. Probably more times than not, a best player, most valuable player is on the defensive side. So, it is what it is. Reggie Bush's family was paid by an agent. Their house and cars were paid for. And it was an absolute clear violation of the rules. Okay? It wasn't a gray area. It was incredibly black and white. And it was against every rule in the college game at that time. And before you say, well, Jeff, people did this, you don't have to lecture me on the corruption of college sports. Okay? I get it. I've seen it. But they got caught. And it was absolutely, by the definition of the rules, against the rules. His family was getting paid, okay? They were getting all sorts of perks at a time when you weren't allowed to get paid and get perks. I know that's a foreign concept now, but there were once some rules in the college game. And if you broke them, you paid a price. In his case, he lost the Heisman Trophy. In USC's case, they had to vacate a bunch of wins from the previous season. So the trophy goes away. It's taken away from him. His head coach, Pete Carroll, bolted. USC was hit with probation and hasn't been the same since, to be honest. The Heisman, oddly enough, which I always thought was a stupid way to go about it, the Heisman Trophy went to nobody. There's a blank. Now I guess there's going to be a formal presentation where they carve his name back in. In my opinion, it should have been given to the number 2 in that case. It would have been Vince Young. But here we are today. All the things that were against the rules then are now perfectly legal since there are no rules in the college football world. There's none. There's no guardrails. There's no direction. There's really no governing body. It's a free-for-all of football mercenaries. Anybody and everybody can get paid, and they are. So, okay. It wasn't legal then, clearly wasn't legal then, perfectly legal today. What do you want to do with that ethical argument? I'll make it an ethical term so you don't have to be a football nerd to appreciate this. What do you make of that? Well, it was clearly against the rules then. They had to forfeit games. You understand that? His team had to forfeit games. They had to forfeit a championship. He forfeited a Heisman Trophy. But it's legal now, so what? What is your ethical position now? He started a campaign. Reggie Bush did. A fabulous player. I mean, he was a highlight reel player in college, no doubt about it. And leading up to the national championship game, even though those, some of us might have had built-in bias because we saw Vince Young play more often, but Reggie Bush won the popularity contest. After that championship game in which Vince Young owned the game himself, owned it, put his handprints all over it, stamped it a win, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. But Reggie Bush, I don't know when it started, last couple of years, started a campaign, a publicity campaign to get his trophy back. He used the argument, and a lot of people agree. You do. A lot of you might still agree. That's fine. We can argue about this. But he used the argument that this stuff isn't against the rules now. It's a different time, different world. So why can't I have my stuff back? Why can't I be recognized if what was against the rules then is now perfectly legal? There you go. Do you agree with that position? I don't. Do you? I haven't agreed with it since the very beginning, since I first heard it. Here's another thing that happened, which I find incredibly goofy. One, he filed a defamation suit, which is laughable on its face. He filed a defamation suit against, I can't remember who it was, which was dumb. You look, man, you and your family broke the rules. That's not defamation when it's fact. But it did spur on this conversation, this reimagining of the Heisman Trophy, the ethics of this whole story, which I think is lame too. One, you don't have a defamation case, and two, I don't think you have any argument whatsoever to something that was clearly against the rules then is now okay. I think that's lame. So he starts a campaign. What else helped him, I think, is other Heisman Trophy winners, high-profile players, including Johnny Manziel, who's taken it on like his own goofy personal crusade to give Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back. Other Heisman Trophy winners came out and said, we're going to stop attending. Who cares? We're going to stop attending these things. We're going to stop, we're going to stop caring. We're going to stop voting. They were making these threats. If we don't get our guy, if we don't get this political prisoner back. So they pushed for it. Sure enough, most of them got what they wanted, I guess. And Reggie Bush now formally gets a Heisman Trophy back. Okay. Let me argue the other side of this, how ridiculous this is that he would get the Heisman Trophy back. Now, I know people are going to say, what does it really matter? I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. I do think, though, it does show you how lawless, directionless college football really is. I mean, this is a small sampling of an industry that has no freaking idea what it's doing. It has no control over itself. It has no governing body whatsoever. It is a full-on free-for-all run by the ultra-rich, including the University of Texas. They have no guidance at all. So I think this is sort of similar to that attitude of, well, whatever, man, whatever. Okay, but if you want to say that this is, come on, Jeff, you paid the price. I don't even know what that means, but okay. It is legal now. So, why not? Why not just blow off all the probations and violations, period? Why not? I mean, if I were USC, I would say, Reg has got a point. We would like all of our vacated wins back from 2004. While we're at it, Reg got his trophy back because these things are legal now. What we did at USC is legal now. So can we have our national championship back as well? So why not? Everybody and anybody who was put on probation before, why aren't they able to get back whatever? Wins, money. You want me to keep going with this? Because that's the logic here. I mean, if it's okay now, then it's why can't we all blow off what you did to us back in the day? Give them their wins back. Give them a trophy back. Using this president. How about Ohio State? I just start spitballing because there's plenty. Ohio State, why can't they get back their wins in 2011 for a payola scandal? Same thing. Can they have their wins back? Why aren't they saying, hey, give us our stuff back too? And you know what? While we're at it, why don't we just give SMU their football program back for 2 years? Because they lost theirs. Stuff that was against the rules then, which was the start of all the corruption. I saw it. I was around it. They went to the governor's office, but it was the ultimate. Let's pay them. Hey, they're worth a lot. Give them whatever you want. SMU received the death penalty, which meant their program was killed off for a couple of years in the late 80s. So using the argument of today, what do they get back? They lost a lot of time and money and have never, of course, they were really good then, trust me, but they've never been the same. I mean, we do this for an hour and a half, picking out programs that suffered scholarship losses, bowl game wins, conference championships, all kinds of stuff, real monetary damages. Can't they say, well, that stuff's legal now? Why doesn't every program that was busted for payola, which is exactly what was going on, do the same thing and argue the same way that Reggie Bush has argued? I'd say it. If I were one of those programs, it's a ridiculous ethical argument. It really is. Even if you say it doesn't matter, try to square up the ethics of this. Here, this guy is today. Today, you're going to preach to us about the values? You are? It's a ridiculous ethical argument. Since it's not against the rules now, breaking the rules then doesn't count. How many programs are going to line up? How many should line up and say, times are different. And we know we can't go back and play the games again, or in the case of SMU, we can't just have our entire program back. But you know what? We'd like something in return. It's a different world now, so can you pay us back for the damage done back in those days?